Assalamu alaikum habibati, and welcome to another Arab Man Reacts. We thought we'd give you an update on the Beirut explosion. Today marks exactly 2 weeks since it happened. It was a terrible tragedy that hit us in the heart of the capital, the Beirut port. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate exploded, or at least that's the theory that most people are tending to believe in. It took away the lives of 178 people, 6,000 were injured, 300,000 people were displaced. They have no homes, they're seeking shelter wherever they can, and it's just been a humanitarian tragedy. The whole world has come together to support the Lebanese, to support Beirut. We've had countless donations come in. One thing we're very thankful for is the fact that most of the aid that's coming in is not being given to the government because we're dealing with so much corruption here in Lebanon. It's such a corrupt state. So the governments of the world are sending the aid directly to the people through verified NGOs. We have a lot of people actually flying into the country and helping on the ground. This is literally what it looks like right now. You head down to the street, and let's say you have no idea what to do. You just want to help out. You walk down to one of the affected neighborhoods and you'll find these tents of volunteers all made by the people, and you just get there, you're like, hi, I'd like to help, and they'll let you know how you can help. They'll give you a broom, they'll give you a mask, some heavy duty gloves, and they'll point you in the way. You'll get a team leader, you'll be assigned to a unit, and then you'll start helping out. The local media and the international media have been covering this thing nonstop, and it's very important to keep the conversation going. It's all over social media, and we're very thankful that it keeps being talked about, because the more people talk about this, the more it spreads, the more aid can come our way, and we need it now more than ever. One major result from the explosion is that the current government has resigned, although we don't see much that's changing yet because they have declared a state of emergency, and now the army is in control, and the army has jurisdiction over everything. We're still looking for answers. We want to know exactly what happened, and we want the people responsible for this terrible tragedy to come to the light. We want them behind bars. We want them punished. And the one thing that's driving us insane, the thing that's making us the angriest people in the world right now, is the fact that there has been no accountability whatsoever. Everybody that has known about the ammonium nitrate and is in a position to do something about it has said that they actually don't know anything about it, or they knew, but there was nothing they could do about it. Even our president, our prime minister, everybody that had notice of this thing for the past 7 years, by the way. Governments have come and gone and officials have changed all over, but the one thing that people who know about it, the one thing we hear them all say is that, oh, we did send a legal document to the authorities in charge and they should have done something about it. And that drives me crazy, right? If one of our subscribers sends us an email and Joe asks me to reply to that email, he'll make sure I do reply to it within the day. He'll be on my ass day and night. Did you reply to the email yet? Reply to the email. Kevin's waiting for you to reply, right? That's just an email. If you know that a mini nuke exists in the middle of a civilian area and you just 7 years went by and nothing's going on there, that's not right, dude. That being said, 25 people have been arrested. People involved in customs, people involved in port authority, right? But no one from like the big dogs, nobody from the big government officials, none of those people at all who've seen these documents, who've signed off on these documents, none of them, nothing's happened to them. And we still don't know what's going on with that investigation. Now, we're still torn about whether or not it should be a local investigation, an international investigation, or a locally led investigation with support from the international community. Before we jump into the theories on why we think this happened, I just want to say thank you so much to the entire international community. Everybody that's come to help us, whether you've donated to NGOs or you've sent supplies, whether it was your government or you personally. I think $500 million have been pledged to support Beirut right now. That's besides the aid. I was passing by one of the affected areas the other day, Madam Khail, and Morocco have set up a hospital, and they're treating everybody with whatever they might need. And they're not the only people. I mean, countries have sent so much support, and the communities, the people themselves have sent so much support, including you. A lot of the subscribers and a lot of the people that actually watch the channel have gone to all the different NGOs and have donated, and they sent us emails and they're asking us how else we can help. I know a couple people that flew in from the States and they went to supermarkets and bought groceries, and they're going door to door trying to help people by giving them these supplies, going to people who have lost their businesses and ask them, how can we help? How can we help you? And that's happening, and it's a great humanitarian effort. So we're going to step into the theories on why we think this thing happened. We're not subscribing to any specific one of them. We're just going to lay them out to you. Keep one thought open, is that overlying thought here, let's call it, Hezbollah have a weapon depot at the port. That might be true, that might not be true. We don't know yet. The investigation hopefully will let us know, but keep that as a thought. So the very first theory, and that's the one that the government is subscribed to for now, and most people seem to subscribe to, is that it was complete negligence. The state is so corrupt. You have so many people that are not good at their jobs, that have just been hired because they know this person or they're related to that person or they belong to this political party, that they've been put in their jobs. They're complete morons and imbeciles, right? We have no policies, no procedures, no SOPs, nothing, no system in place. And that makes this terrible tragedy an accident, one brought on by complete and utter negligence. Theory number 2. Now we're stepping into conspiracy theories. They might be true, who knows? But theory number 2 is it was an attack. And it was an attack for a bunch of reasons. Now, Lebanon is technically in a state of war with Israel, and tensions are now higher than ever. And there's a big Iranian presence in Lebanon, which is Hezbollah. So one major theory says that this attack occurred to weaken the Iranian hold on a major port on the Mediterranean Sea. And here's one thing that sort of feeds the fire of this theory. So 7 or 8 days after the explosion happens, a peace treaty is signed between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. This is the first peace treaty to happen in a very, very, very long time. And other Arab states are concurring with this, and they're saying that it might be something they're looking forward to. So when you think about it, it's like Iran is getting out of control. We need to hit them where it hurts, and then we'll all come back and help Lebanon. So that's another one of the theories. It was an attack. It was coordinated by all these world powers and superpowers to weaken Iran on a port on the Mediterranean Sea. So the third theory, and this is some dark web shit, all right? This is a movie I would watch, is that it was an inside job. The idea is this: the political parties, the people in power, they blew it up on purpose. And the reason they did that is because Lebanon has been under so much economic pressure, right? Our currency's devaluating, we have 50% unemployment, the country's dying, if not already dead, and no one will come and save us, no one will come and help us because they've done so over the years, and because of the socio-political situation going around in the country. So the idea was this: we're under economic siege. We blow it up, and then all the countries of the world lend a helping hand. Suddenly, right, we're not sieged anymore. The pressures are gone, right? The forces at will have to come together to support these people, and that sort of rebuilds the country. And when that happens, and here's one bit that sort of supports this theory, is that with all this destruction, development has to happen. And for that development to happen, we're going to need finances. Investments have to come in from abroad. So now these hungry investors outside of Lebanon can come in with their fresh dollars into the country and rebuild it. And that's sort of what happened back in the 90s. And that's what happens in any war-torn country. It's just that the damages here weren't that big, but now they are. And now you have a lot of room to rebuild and a lot of dollars to be made. Now here's a fourth theory that sort of ties into the second one. Apparently, we have one of the biggest gas deposits in the history of mankind. This is all, I don't know. I don't know the facts. The facts aren't out yet, But a lot of companies have been interested in mining that gas. Is that what you say, Joey? So they've been looking at these gas deposits in the sea. And we're bordered with Israel, and our borders are sort of in the blur right now because we say they've occupied some of our land and the basically the lines haven't been drawn yet. With something like this happening and peace being signed now with UAE and maybe with some other countries, that leaves us in a state where maybe we might sign peace with Israel. And our president even said this in an interview. I think the interviewer was asking him whether or not we would sign a peace agreement with Israel. And he said, it depends. We have a lot of problems with Israel. We need to figure those out first. What does that mean? That probably means drawing the line. And that means drawing the line on land and in the water. In the water means that we would be splitting those gas reserves. And I think once that happens, and then the French companies can come in and mine for that gas, and then the American companies and the Russian companies and the companies from all these other countries can come in and they can mine for that gas. You know, the money's made, everybody's happy. Maybe we can finally find peace. I have no idea. That still leaves the big question of what would happen to Hezbollah and Iran in a situation like this. Now, we don't subscribe to any of these theories. We're going to wait on the truth to come out, and hopefully that will put us at peace with this thing and help us get over our trauma, because, man, you know what? I'll get into it in a bit. The point is this. Whether it is an international investigation or a local investigation, and we do see a lot of the French coming in to help out with this thing, the FBI are coming in to help out with this thing, a lot of international units are coming in to help support with this investigation. Hopefully the truth will come out. Hopefully there's enough of the crime scene left to be able to establish exactly what went down and why it went down. And hopefully the people responsible for this tragedy, right, they will get the right sentencing for their crime. Before we end this video, I want to talk about a post that I saw online a couple days ago. And it was describing the life of the average 35-year-old Lebanese person. And here are some of the highlights of this. We were born into a civil war in the 1980s, followed by a financial crisis that only got resolved in the early 1990s, where the crime lords of that era got their place in government and they started controlling everything. In the 90s, we were living under the Syrian regime. That's how it was, and people couldn't say anything. We'd have to be quiet all the time because we were so scared they could do whatever they wanted to us. In the early 2000s, a series of bombings and assassinations that happened all over the country. We had military checkpoints everywhere for years and years and years. We would never know when the next bomb would happen. That's how we lived. In 2006, there was the war with Israel, and they were bombing our infrastructure, so people were trying to get out of the country to survive, but they were bombing the airport, they bombed our power plants, our bridges. Every single point of infrastructure got bombed. In 2008, there was the global financial crisis. A lot of the Lebanese immigrants had to come back into Lebanon, and the other ones couldn't send money back here. And all of this leading up to a financial crisis that started building up at around 2017 and 18, leading to the October Revolution in 2019. The banks took our money. We could not withdraw dollars anymore. Our currency started to devaluate like crazy, leading up to the resignation of a government and the revolution that for months and months and months went on with no result because the people in power would not give up their seats, leading up to the 2020 August 4th Beirut port explosion. This is just a snapshot of what it's like being a 30-year-old Lebanese person living in Lebanon. And even for the people that don't live in Lebanon, the Lebanese abroad. Imagine these people, they're 35, they've been living abroad for 15 years, they saved up all this money, sending it back home to the banks, they bought an apartment, and now what happens? The banks took their money, their apartment got blown up, they have nothing. They've spent their entire life outside of the country, living away from their parents and loved ones and their friends, and now they end up with nothing. And the people that live here, we ended up with nothing too. So just to see what it's like to be Lebanese and to live in this country. Just to give you really that perspective on what it's like to be Lebanese. Add to it the fact that we have a 50% unemployment rate. Things aren't good, man. Things aren't good at all for us. But the one thing we do have is hope. And as cheesy as this sounds, and as sick as we are of hearing the sentence of the Lebanese are so resilient, or we're going to get through this, we're sort of sick and tired of trying to be resilient and always hoping for something better. But really, that's all we have. So I'm going to leave you with that. For those of you who would like to help out, we're going to leave in the description of this video a bunch of links. It's all the NGOs that we've vetted, we've verified, the ones that are doing a lot of the work on the ground. If you can't donate, just sharing the links does a lot of work and a lot of help, because it does two things. One, someone else might donate or share. Two, it keeps the conversation going. It's very important to do that. We want to apply as much pressure as possible on the current government and everybody in office. Thank you so much for watching this video. We're both looking forward to getting back into doing the videos we like doing, our reaction videos. We miss doing those. So we still have all your recommendations, and we promise we're going to dive back into that as soon as we can. Please leave a like and comment, consider subscribing to the channel, and keep the conversation on Beirut going. Salamat.